fortune and fame, or adventure, freedom and friendship? What if I told you that you could have it all? But first, you had to brave treacherous waters, defeat vile villains, and conquer deadly dangers. Would you do it? Would you be bold enough to pursue the One Piece? Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Eron, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and very few franchises have achieved the universal appeal of One Piece. Created by Eiichiro Oda, One Piece is one of the most successful mangas in the world, which, in the late 90s, was adapted into a very successful anime that has amassed a very devoted, very loyal global fan base. The prospect of a live-action adaptation of One Piece has been teased for decades, something that fans approach with plenty of trepidation, as live-action American adaptations of anime are more miss than hit. But this one is different, as not only was Oda directly involved, but Netflix put its considerable weight and resources behind it. So the general consensus is that this one might have broken the anime adaptation curse. The plot. This is a world of fantasy and myth where 90% of the globe is covered in water. And where there is more ocean than land, there are pirates aplenty. There was a man named Gold Roger, who was king of the pirates. During his time at sea, he amassed the greatest treasure the world has ever known, the One Piece. But Gold Roger got caught, and before they executed him, he encouraged all of his fellow pirates to take to the seas and find his treasure. So from that day forth, pirates from all around the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for One Piece, the treasure that will make their dreams come true, and crown whoever finds it as the new king of the pirates. 22 years pass, and no one finds the One Piece. This is the story of the Straw Hat Crew, a ragtag band of misfits and dreamers that make it further than any pirates before them. So much so that many come to believe that their captain, Monkey D. Luffy, might just become the new king of the pirates.
I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
Cast and characters. One of the elements that makes One Piece so successful is that it is populated by a multitude of great characters, and great characters must have great adversaries. The villains. The villains are many and the heroes are few, and boy does that saying apply to One Piece, as our heroes meet a lot of opposition along the way. Alvida, Axehand Morgan, Kuro of 1,000 Plans, and many more. But before we talk about the worst of the worst, let's talk about the most prominent antagonist of Season 1, Vice Admiral Garp, played by Vincent Regan. Now bear with me as I am about to be a little vague about Admiral Garp because I can't talk too much about him without giving away major plot points about the show, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. One of the main themes in One Piece is the perception of good and evil. How someone may appear to be one way on the surface, but be the opposite within. Garp represents the perception of good. He is a high-ranking Marine, which is the organization that is supposed to maintain peace on behalf of the world government and protect its citizens from pirates. But this so-called protection comes at the cost of freedom and autonomy, and it's not without lots and lots of oversight. Because a society that only sees things in black and white often overlooks the gray.
If there are good pirates and bad pirates, then there are gonna be good Marines and bad Marines too.
Buggy the Clown Pirate, played by Jeff Ward. If you would have told me a year ago that Buggy was going to be the one to steal the show, I would have laughed in your face, which he would have appreciated. Continuing on the theme of the perception of good and evil, Buggy represents the road not taken, as his origins are extremely similar to Luffy's. He was also friends with Shanks, and he too ate a devil fruit and gained superpowers. But he chooses to be a cruel, disreputable, deceitful pirate.
Hey, so, I'm gonna get out of here.
And my God, I cannot compliment Jeff Ward enough. He stole every single scene he was in. So much so that the creators of the show said that after he finished one of his scenes, the extras that were around him gave him a standing ovation. Arlong the Saw, played by McKinley Belcher III. First of all, the makeup effects for Arlong and his crew are amazing. So hats off to the makeup effects team, they did an incredible job. Arlong is the big bad for the season, most definitely an evil pirate. He is the direct result of the perception of evil in this world, as he is who he is due to the discrimination against his people. So he legitimately believes that the mistreatment that he endured justifies his very terrible deeds. When the irony is that Arlong has become the very thing that he hates, a racist bully.
You told Nezumi about my stash.
I'm just playing by human rules.
But enough about bad pirates, let's talk about the good ones. The heroes. One of my favorite recurring motifs this season was the wanted posters. How they are a symbol of a pirate's status. But I noticed that while all the pirates that are perceived as evil have a huge bounty on their heads, the ones who are perceived as good or honorable, like Gold Roger, Shanks, Seth, or the coolest character in the entire series, Hercule Mihawk, either don't get a wanted poster, their bounty is omitted, or it has been cancelled. Except for one, but we'll talk about him in just a few minutes. First, let's talk about his crew. Sanji, played by Taz Skylar. My favorite personal theory about One Piece is that the main characters are analogs to the characters from The Wizard of Oz. Sanji is Tip, who is perceived to be nothing more than a peasant boy, but is secretly so much more. Sanji is perceived to be just a very well-dressed, smooth-talking waiter. But in reality, he is an extraordinary fighter who longs to be an extraordinary chef. Something he knows he can achieve if he finds the All Blue, the place in their world where all four oceans meet, and you can find every species of sea life, spices, and flavors that no one has ever tasted. And he who unlocks said flavors will be the greatest chef in the world. In fact, Sanji is so serious about his culinary pursuits that he has fashioned himself into a master of Kikusutaru, kick style, meaning that he only employs his feet while fighting, using a unique fighting style that is a combination between breakdancing and capoeira, therefore sparing his hands, which he reserves for cooking.
Told you.
Usopp, played by Jacob Gibson. If Sanji is Tip, then Usopp is the Cowardly Lion, full of a lot of posturing and tall tales, but believing himself to be a coward, when in truth, he is the bravest of them all. As brave as the man who fights, but braver is the man who's afraid but fights anyway. A pretty badass sharpshooter, Usopp is a bard, a storyteller. No one can spin a yarn better than he can, which may lead many to view him as a lying simpleton. But there is such a thing as manifestation. So potentially, if Usopp continues to claim to be a great warrior, and the Straw Hats to be the greatest pirate crew in the four seas, eventually that might just come true.
No one's around to see. It's okay. They'll believe me.
Nami, played by Emily Rudd. Nami is Dorothy. In spite of all of her bravado, ultimately she just wants to go home, only to discover that she was home all along. She is the rogue of the group, a master thief on a personal quest to free herself of a burden that she has carried since she was a little girl, which I will not spoil here. Nami is the most broken one in the group. She has seen the cruelty of the world and believes there is no light. But light is forced upon her when she inadvertently joins the Straw Hats and takes on the role of their navigator, both literally and figuratively giving this band of disheveled knuckleheads some much needed direction.
Which way's port?
The left!
Oh, and I love how they changed the meaning of Nami's windmill tattoo, from a reference to Genzo's hat to those tangerine pinwheels that she would make with her adopted mother, Belmere.
It was the right thing to do. I know you'll do the right thing too.
Roronoa Zoro, played by Mackenyu. He is the Tin Man, believing to be cold and heartless, all the while being one of the most caring and honorable characters in the series. Zoro is the demon pirate hunter, the most feared bounty hunter in the four seas. He is a Ronin, a masterless samurai, drifting from place to place, simply looking to fashion himself into the world's greatest swordsman, a goal that is very well within his grasp, as the only master of Santerio, three-sword style.
So that's where it goes.
And yet, he is still without direction, something that changes dramatically when he meets Luffy, whose unshakable belief and determination inspires him to join the Straw Hats. And then his purpose becomes clear, to protect his found family.
It's the least you can do, considering I saved your ass from those fishmen.
What? I saved your ass.
Now, before I talk about the main character, I have to take a quick sidestep and talk about Kobe, played by Morgan Davies, and Helmeppo, played by Aidan Scott. One of the major improvements between this show and the source material is that they actually show the parallel paths of Kobe becoming a Marine and Luffy becoming a pirate. In the manga, Luffy rescues Kobe from Evita, he becomes a Marine, and we don't see him again until much later. In the show, however, we see his journey from an endangered cabin boy to a fully fledged Marine, once again illustrating the show's theme of the perception of good and evil. Kobe wants to be a Marine because he wants to be a good man, but through Helmeppo, he sees that being a Marine doesn't necessarily mean that you're good. But Kobe strives to stay on the right path anyway, eventually influencing Helmeppo to follow him, which makes it absolutely perfect that this season is bookended with encounters between Kobe and Luffy, starting as bright-eyed dreamers and concluding with them becoming who they were meant to be.
Be a good Marine.
Be a good pirate.
All of this is perfectly illustrated by our hero getting his first wanted poster, which has a huge bounty on it, meant to paint him as a villain. But the sweet, wonderful irony is that this bounty was placed upon him by a villain who's masquerading as a good guy. Alright, enough stalling. Let's talk about the captain of the Straw Hat crew, Monkey D. Luffy, played by Iñaki Godoy. In the manga and anime, my favorite character is Sanji. After all, I gotta respect the guy with a good sense of style. But in this show, my favorite character, beyond the shadow of a doubt, is Luffy. First of all, it's like Netflix genetically engineered a live-action Luffy. Iñaki is so much like the character that I always forget that I'm watching an actor, and all I see is Luffy. He is the scarecrow of the group. He might appear to be brainless, but is far more enlightened than anyone gives him credit for.
I just think it's a waste of time for you to be hanging out here. There's something you want out there.
Luffy sees the absolute truth in everyone, their untapped potential, and forces them to see it too.
Wow. You're a great shot.
On top of his boundless optimism and determination, Luffy has the power to stretch his body, a power that he obtained when he ate a devil fruit of the gum gum variety. Unfortunately, while the devil fruit gave him incredible powers, it made him vulnerable to seawater. If he gets splashed, it weakens him, and if he gets submerged, he will drown. Which to me is the absolute greatest weakness that you could give a pirate, and Oda's simple but brilliant explanation as to why all the pirates in the show don't just eat devil fruit and give themselves superpowers, because it would take away their ability to swim. To Luffy, ignorance isn't just bliss, it's a superpower. The guy can't sail, he can't read a map, and he can't swim, but he still strives to be king of the pirates. And that level of confidence is simply inspirational.
That simpleton in a straw hat. Don't tell me you actually believe in him.
I don't need to. He believes in himself.
Making his catchphrase not idle hope, but a legitimate promise.
And become king of the pirates!
Favorite episode: The Worst in the East. The season 1 finale is spectacular, seeing the Straw Hats mount a full frontal attack on Arlong Park to free Cocoa Village of the tyranny of the Arlong pirates. The entire season builds up beautifully to this moment, and it lives up to the hype, delivering an emotionally satisfying conclusion coupled with one of the coolest action sequences to ever be committed to film. Made all the better by the fact that the cast performed most of their fight choreography. So major respect to the stunt and fight choreography teams for this show, as they did an incredible job. Everyone has their favorite One Piece signature move, but my favorite is Luffy's Gum Gum Gatling. A move so ridiculous it shouldn't look right in live action, but somehow, someway, the amazing VFX team behind the show made it work. The only thing that I would change about this episode is that I really wanted to see Nami be a part of the final battle with Arlong. Hell, that's my main desire for Season 2, just more of Nami kicking ass. But other than that, this was a spectacular finale worthy of a spectacular season. Favorite scene. From the girl with the softish tattoo, Luffy helped me. My first exposure to One Piece came in the early 2000s while I was babysitting my younger cousin. The infamous 4Kids version of the One Piece anime was one of his favorite shows, and he would watch it every day after school. The scene that I'm about to talk about was the one that completely made me change my perspective about One Piece, and made me go from seeing it as a silly anime to a brilliant story about hope and friendship. At this point in the season, after 8 years of fending for herself, Nami breaks and has a full-on existential crisis. And right when she's about to take very drastic measures, she is reminded by Luffy that she is not alone, and that she doesn't have to fend for herself anymore. As a great pirate once taught Luffy, you're never alone when you're part of a crew. And for the first time ever, Nami asks for help, and Luffy responds the only way he knows how.
Of course I will.
This is when they stop being individuals and they become a crew. This is when they earn their Jolly Roger. And believe you me, I know the value of having your own Jolly Roger. At this point, the only thing left to do is round up the rest of the Straw Hats and go kick some ass.
Let's go! Right!
And this moment slaps in every version of the story. Nuff said. Favorite line. My favorite would have to be one that starts out as nothing more than a cool tough guy line from Shanks.
You can spill a drink on me and I'll let it slide. But don't you ever threaten my friends.
But becomes so much more, as it defines Luffy's personality as somebody who doesn't just want to be a pirate, but a good pirate.
You can dump seawater on me, and I'll let it slide. But don't you ever threaten my friends.
Final verdict. To say that One Piece is just about pirates is a gross undersimplification of the franchise. One Piece is about the value of freedom, the importance of friendship, the necessity of heroism, and how crucial it is to never ever give up on your dreams, even when the obstacles in your way seem overwhelming. The lesson is simple. Ignore the limitations and embrace opportunity. Believe in yourself, and when something goes wrong, don't be afraid to ask for help. Because life is never as simple as choosing between being a hero or a villain. Sometimes you just gotta be a pirate. 10 points in the bad attitude meter. Make your reservations at the Baratier. Don't forget to call out your signature moves and give it a watch. And I cannot wait to see what's in store for Season 2. What dangers are in store in the Grand Line? Will Usopp reunite with his dad? Will Zoro get to fight Mihawk again? Will Baroque Works get the revenge? What does Smoker have in store for the Straw Hats? Will Jamie Lee Curtis get to play Dr. Correa? And for that matter, will the Going Merry ever get a proper doctor? Wink, wink, wink. Hopefully we'll find out soon. Until then, I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster. But wait! What about Toto, the loyal dog faithful to his master to the bitter end? If you know, you know.